Assalamu alaikum viewers. From behalf of your live team, I am here. Today's our topic is history of United Nations. The history of United Nations as an international organization has its origin in the World War II. Since then, its aim and activities have expanded to make it the archetypal international body in the early 21st century. Origin: the earliest concrete plan for the new world organization to replace the ineffective League of Nations began under the aegis of the U.S. State Department in 1939. On 12 June 1941, representative of the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the Union of the South Africa, and the exiled government of the Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Greece, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Yugoslavia, as well as the German General de Gaulle and the France met in the London and signed the Declaration of St. James Palace. This was the first of the six conferences that led up the founding of the United Nations and the Charter of the United Nations. The US President Franklin Roosevelt first suggested using the name United Nations to refer the allies of the World War II. The British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, during the latter's three-week visit to the White House in December 1941, Roosevelt suggested the name as an alternative to the Associated Power, to a term of the US used in the First World War. And Churchill accepted the idea and cited Lord Byron's use of the phrase United Nations in the poem of the Childe Harold Pilgrimage, which refers to the Allies at the Battle of the Waterloo in 1815. 1942 Declaration of United Nations. The text of the Declaration of United Nations was drafted by the US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Roosevelt added Harry Hopkins while meeting at the White House on 29 December 1941 in incorporate Soviet suggestion, but left no role for France. The first official use of the term United Nations was 1 to 2 January 1942 when 26 governments signed the declaration. One major change from the Atlantic Charter was the addition of the provision for the religious freedom, which Stalin approved after the Roosevelt insisted. By early 1947-45, it had been signed by the 21 member states. A joint declaration by the United States of America, the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and the North Ireland, the United Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic, China, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Costa Rica, Cuba, Czechoslovakia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Greece, Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, India, Luxembourg, Netherlands, New Zealand, Niger, Norway, Panama, Poland, South Africa, Yugoslavia, having subscribed to a common program of purpose and principle embodied in the joint declaration of the President of the United Nations, United States of America, and the Prime Minister of the Great Britain, dated August 14, 1941, known as the Atlantic Charter, being convinced that the complete victory over their enemies is essentially to defend life, liberty, independence, and religious freedom, and to preserve human rights and justice in their own lands as well as in other lands, and that they are now engaged in the common struggle against savage and brutal forces seeking to subjugated the world. Declare first, each government pledged itself to employ its fully resources, military or economic, against those members of the Tripartite Pact and its adherent with which such government is at war. Each government pledged itself to cooperate with the government signatory hereto and not to make a separate administration and peace with the enemies. The foregoing declaration may be adhered to by other nations which may be rendering material assistance and contribution in the struggle for the victory over fatalism. During the war, the United Nations became the official term of the alliances. To join, the countries had to sign the declaration and declare war on the Axis. Planning. Early United Nations official passport from World War II, working for the UNRRA, issued in 1944 for the Middle East. US President Franklin D. Roosevelt considered his most important legacy the creation of the United Nations, making a permanent organization out of the wartime alliances of the same name. He was the chief promoter of the World United Nations idea. The first plan for the future international organization emerged in the declaration signed at the Wartime Alliances Conference, the Moscow Conference, and the Tehran Conference in 30 October 1943. Roosevelt had been a strong supporter of the League of Nations back in 1919 and 20, but was determined to avoid the mistake Woodrow Wilson had made. The United Nations was FDR's highest post-war priority. He insisted on the fully coordination with the Republican leadership. He made sure that the leading Republicans were on board, especially Senator Arthur Vanderbilt of the Michigan and Warren Austin of Vermont. In in a broad sense, Roosevelt believed that the United Nations could solve the minor problems and provide the chief mechanism to resolve any major issues that arose among the great power, all of whom had a veto. For FDR, creating the United Nations was the most important goal for the entire war efforts. Roosevelt was especially interested in international protection of human rights, and in this area his wife played a major role as well. The allies had agreed to basic structure of the new bodies at the Dumbarton Oka Conference in 1944 at Yalta. Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin agreed to the establishment of the United Nations as well as the structure of the United Nations Security Council. Stalin insisted on having a veto, and FDR finally agreed. The participants of the Yalta also agreed that the United Nations would convene for the first time in San Francisco in April 1945 in the United Nations Conference on International Organization. Roosevelt considered the United Nations to be his most important legacy. He provided continuous backstage political support at home and with the Churchill and Stalin abroad. The Big Four of the United States, Britain, Soviet Union, and China would make the major decision, with France added later to provide permanent members of the all-powerful Security Council. Each had a veto power, thus avoiding the fatal weaknesses of the League of Nations, which had theoretically been able to order its members to act in defense of their own parliament. Roosevelt went public with strong advocacy in the 1944 presidential campaign and turned detailed planning over the State Department, where Sumner Welles and Secretary Cordell Hull worked on the project. It was his ideas that the four policemen would collaborate to keep and enforce the peace. The United States, Britain, Soviet Union, and China made the major decision and become permanent member of the all-powerful Security Council. France was added to make 5 policemen. Stalin insisted on the veto power. Roosevelt finally agreed, thus avoiding the fatal weaknesses of the League of Nations, which theoretically could order its members to act in defense of their own parliament. From 21st September to 7 October 1944, representatives of the Republic of China, Britain, and the US and the USSR met to elaborate plans at the Dumbarton Oka Conference in Washington, D.C. Those and later talks produced proposals outlining the purpose of the United Nations organization, its membership and organs, as well as the armament to maintain the international peace and security and the international economic and social cooperation. Government and private citizens worldwide discuss and debate these proposals within. Winston Churchill urged Roosevelt to restore France to its status of the major power after the liberation of the Paris in August 1944. At the Yalta Conference, it was agreed that the membership would be open to nations that had joined the alliances by the 1st March 1945. Brazil, Syria, and the member of the other countries qualified for membership by declaration of the war on either Germany or Japan in the first 3 months of the 1945. In some cases, actively